Ok, donc aujourd'hui je suis avec Mark Muñoz ici à Lake Forest en Californie, donc au Rain Training Center. Thank you very much, Mark, for this interview for GlobeMMA.com.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, so Mark, tell us about your background.
My background is I'm Filipino. I grew up in California. I was born on a naval base in Japan and moved to California when I was 2 years old. And Filipino. I'm Filipino-American. I grew up very Filipino with the culture, but I am also American as well. So for me, I like to represent both. You know, the Filipino in me, from the culture to the traditions, to the food, to the dance, to everything about me is Filipino, but at the same time I grew up here in America, and I acknowledge a lot of the American in me as well. So and I grew up wrestling. I wrestled since I was 13 years old, and decided to get into mixed martial arts thereafter. So now I'm one of the top fighters in the world, and now I own this gym, Rain Training Center, and I love what I do, and I love representing where I came from, love representing who I am, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Of course. So when you were wrestling, it was at college, you had good results?
Yes, so when I was in college, I wrestled for Oklahoma State, who is known to be one of the best wrestling schools in the country, in the United States. And so I wrestled for them, and I won a national championship for them, and decided to coach for them thereafter and try out for the Olympics. And I came up short, but that's okay, because I decided to go into MMA afterwards.
And why this choice to move from wrestling to MMA?
So from making the decision to go from wrestling to MMA didn't come all of a sudden. I was wanting to be a coach for a long time, and then I met Uriah Faber. And Uriah Faber stayed on me for 3 years and said, you need to fight. And I just wasn't, I wasn't making the decision, because I said, oh no, I'm not a fighter. And he's like, no, you are, you should do it. So he stayed on me for 3 years, and finally, after I sparred one of the top guys in MMA at the time, which was Randy Couture, I decided to get into fighting after that. And so from there I got into Uriah's gym, which is Ultimate Fitness up in Sacramento, and I was there for 3 years, and my first part of my career, I owe it to Uriah for introducing me to MMA. So
what is your record, your MMA record right now?
My record right now is 13-4. 13-4.
And so let's talk about your last fights, your last ones. So let's talk about this fight against Chris Weidman.
Yes.
So you lost against him. That's right. And after this, you get an injury on your foot.
Yeah. So I actually went into the fight against Chris Weidman with a broken foot, and I didn't want to see the doctor for it. I didn't want to back out of that fight, because I had to back out of my fight against Michael Bisping, and because of like a lot of bone spurs in my elbow, and so I had surgery on that, and so I didn't want to back out again, because I sparred in here, and I sparred very well with my training partners, so I decided to go through with the fight, but I couldn't explode off my foot, my back foot. And a lot of times he was taking me down because a lot of my weight was on my front foot. So it was a bad performance on my part, and I threw an overhand right, and he landed an elbow, and it happens, you know. But I always say that your experiences shape and mold you into the person you are today and in the future. So I needed that to happen, because I needed to kind of reinvent myself. I needed to make myself better in fighting and be able to take the things that I've done in the past and make them better, and also the things that I'm not good at, make them better as well. So I was able to do that in that time, and then I came back against Tim Boetsch, and I had a great fight there. Tim Boetsch is a very good opponent, and I controlled him and basically dominated him in that fight. And then I had a fight against Lyoto Machida, who I was supposed to fight Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
And he backed out, and I had 2 weeks to prepare for Lyoto, and that wasn't enough time for me to prepare for a guy like Lyoto Machida. So I ended up getting head kicked in that fight, and here I am now. So, but I learned a tremendous amount in that fight, and now I'm actually taking what I've learned. It's just, it's like life, you know. You make mistakes in life, you move on, and you try not to make those mistakes again. The fight game is much as the same. I go into every fight a better fighter, but if new things come to surface that you have to work on, then you have to work on those, you know. So, you know, in the Lyoto Machida fight, I needed to close the gap, but I was staying in his sweet spot, and you know, I really, because he knows everything about me when it comes to wrestling, because we trained together, and you know, it was a hard situation for me, but I learned a lot from it. I'm gonna move on, and I'm a better fighter because of it. So now I'm looking to fight maybe May or June, and we'll see what happens there. But I guarantee you, I'm gonna be a better fighter this time, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna be the Filipino wrecking machine.
Yeah, the famous wrecking machine, not the wrecking ball over there.
Yeah, not the wrecking ball. So not a Miley Cyrus wrecking ball, no.
So you watched the last fight of Gegard Mousasi against Machida and Carmon against Jacare. Can you give us some words about it?
Yeah, so in the Jacare and Carmon fight, Jacare pretty much controlled the ground game and didn't let Carmon establish his range, and so Jacare closed the gap, put him on the ground, and then got a body triangle on him, and he and Carmon couldn't get out. And so Jacare landed a good amount of punches from the top and tried for rear naked chokes, because he had his back for a long time, a lot of the time, and he won unanimous decision. And you know, Carmon had very good defense when it came to the choke, rear naked choke defense, but he couldn't find a way out of that. In the Lyoto Machida and Gegard Mousasi fight, Lyoto Machida took advantage of the angles and was able to close the gap, and leg kicks. He did a lot of leg kicks, a lot of body kicks, went to the head a couple times, landed a couple head kicks, and Lyoto just is basically good at closing the gap, taking advantage of, and then getting out. And that's what he did against Mousasi. And he did do a lot of in and out type of things, and he ended up landing most of the strikes. He took him down a couple times with a foot sweep. He threw a right hand and then foot sweeped him and took him to his back, and so he showed some takedowns as well. You know, but Mousasi showed a little bit of jiu-jitsu in that too, swept him a couple times. So, but Machida came out on top in that fight, and so yeah, those were good middleweight fights that are in our division, and so I feel that our division is basically wide open now. There's a lot of fights for me that are coming out. Carmon lost his last fight, so Carmon might be a opponent for me, or Mousasi might be an opponent for me. So either one, you know, it doesn't matter for me. I would love to get back inside the octagon and definitely show how I evolve and make myself better.
So what's your picks for this title fight between Chris Weidman and Vitor Belfort?
You know, it's hard to say, because Vitor is, his performances, he can explode on somebody and really knock somebody out, but when it gets into the deeper rounds, he tends to get tired a little bit, and then when it gets into like a grappling type fight, he hasn't been that successful in that. But when it's on his feet, he can explode on somebody and knock them out in an instant. So I think Weidman is gonna make it a grappling fight. He's gonna close the gap, take Vitor down and not going to allow him to use his striking and his explosion on his feet. So I think Wyman's going to come out on top.
Good. So here at the Rain Training Center, who is your partner when you are training?
So my training partners consist of Pat Cummings, Joe Henley, Brett Cooper, Jake Ellenberger. I have a bunch of up-and-coming fighters here as well. I have a lot of good training partners. Chael Sonnen comes in and trains with me. Tom Watson. So I'm drawing a blank. I have a lot of training partners, but I'm...
sometimes Ishii, sometimes?
Yeah, Satoshi Ishii's here, and we just trained this morning. See, I totally forgot about Satoshi.
Yeah. So many.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that come in here, and so I'm fortunate to have a very good gym with very good training partners, and I'm forgetting some guys, so I'm sorry.
No.
But yeah,
How many days a week do you train?
I train 5-6 days a week, and then I have 2 to 3 times that I train each day.
Okay.
So I have a rigorous schedule, especially when I'm in training camp. I make sure I get everything in, when it's striking to strength conditioning to doing my cardio, so I can lose the weight and not have to lose water at the end of my training camp. Making sure I come in and drill, so we have our MMA practices, we have my strength conditioning, we have my pad work, we have my jiu-jitsu stuff. So there's a lot of things that I have to fit in order to be a well-rounded fighter.
Perfect. We wish you the best for your next fight, maybe May, June. Yeah. And thank you very much, Mark. You're a great fighter, and we appreciate your style.
Thank you, JBA. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you.